Story this morning, uncertainty for auto workers in Canada in this trade war. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says assembly lines could start shutting down in a matter of days. Lana Payne is the national president of Unifor, the primary union for Canadian auto workers, and she's our guest this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Thanks for having me.
First of all, I'm curious about this number that was given by Premier Ford about things shutting down within 10 days or less. Is that number accurate?
Yeah, it's very much could happen when you consider how interconnected the auto industry is across North America. If you get a problem in one part of the supply chain, for example, if in Canada, for some reason related to these tariffs that parts plants can't produce parts because it's too expensive for them to do it, those parts don't flow and vehicles in the United States don't get built. And so as a result, you'll end up seeing the industry really in a lot of trouble in a very quick period of time.
What happens then, Lana, to those workers?
I mean, obviously, if plants can't get parts, it's like we went through the pandemic. There are short-term layoffs that occur. You can't go to work if you don't have anything to build. The reality is, though, that you can imagine, Anne-Marie, being in this situation where this actually could bring this whole tariff discussion to a head. If you have the auto industry, the biggest industry across North America, not being able to operate, not being able to function, pretty quickly, the President of the United States is going to have to make some serious decisions here about what he has done and the impact of these tariffs on workers on both sides of the border.
And that's something I wanted to ask about. We don't have that discussion a lot. We've talked a lot about our Canadian workers, but the same situation happens south of the border as well, right? It's worker stoppage on both sides of the border.
Absolutely. And this is what needs to be understood. The industry is so interconnected. If we, for some reason, can't make engines in Canada, that means trucks don't get assembled in the United States. The same is true of the U.S. If they can't get parts from Mexico to go into certain vehicles there, then assembly plants can't operate. That is how interconnected it is. We have other industries nearly like this. The aerospace industry also faces this. But the reality is this could actually be, what needs to happen to show just how damaging and ill thought out these tariffs are. But in the meantime, Canada has to act to retaliate, and we've seen what we're going to do there, but also to build. We have tens of billions of dollars available to us through federal and provincial governments in procurement that we need to put to use, putting Canadians to work and building the things that we know we can here in this country so we can have a more resilient economy into the future.
You're talking about procurement and building here in Canada, but I want to get to your response to what President Trump said this week, where he says he wants it all done in America. He wants everything. He doesn't want things crossing the border back and forth. He wants all of it done in America. That means shutting plants down here in Canada.
Yeah, that's what he wants. That's been his end game from the beginning. This is the challenge that we've faced with these tariffs, is that he wants to pressure corporations to shift production out of Canada and into the United States. And that's why it is so incredibly important that Canada is doing everything it can, and there's a lot that we can do to protect this industry in Canada, to protect all of our industries in Canada, to protect jobs in Canada, and to make sure that President Trump does not win.
When we talk about workers, and in some of the reporting, we hear people say that, a break comes down in production lines and everybody's worried that this is the stoppage. This is when the tariffs have taken effect. So that's the level of fear that they're living and working with every day. But I want to ask you about if work stoppage comes, what kind of support do auto workers need from the Canadian government?
Well, we have very strong collective agreements in our assembly plants that include not just obviously being able to access employment insurance, but we negotiate top-ups to those benefits. But not every worker is going to be able to have that level of support, and not all our members will have that level of support, which is why the federal government needs to do everything it can right now to improve the supports that will be available. And we've been very clear about this as a union, that employment insurance as it stands is just not going to cut it. It's not up to the task. We have gaps in our social safety net, and when we get into a crisis, those gaps become very exposed, and that's the situation we'll be in. So they need to improve upon employment insurance, but they also have to look at how we keep Canadians working through this, and that will mean support for industry to make sure that we're mitigating any layoffs wherever we can.
Lana Payne, National President of Unifor, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.